Hey everyone, my name is Janet. Now let's dim the lights.
Oh, the horror!
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things spooky, uninviting, and downright horrific. I just wanted to reiterate my disclaimer this week. I say it because I mean it. And I did get a little bit of hate last week over my Prey review, which I completely understand. It was a very critically revered movie that I kind of panned. And I wholeheartedly welcome your opinions and your critiques and anything that you have, because it means that you're watching and you're interacting, and I really appreciate that. I only say this because I really don't want you guys to think that I value my opinion over anyone else's, or that I even really know what I'm talking about, because I don't. So with that being said, I don't take myself seriously. I hope that you don't either. I'm just here to provide lighthearted, digestible reviews. And if you are looking for something a little bit more in-depth and more critical, there are YouTube channels that do that. I'm just not one of them. I am so excited for fall. I don't know what hit me this week. Maybe it's because there's been like a couple of cloudy days in LA, but I'm so excited for Halloween and for cozy weather, even though that doesn't really exist here. I'm just ready to kind of hibernate. I've also really been keeping my eye on movies coming out this fall for the Halloween season. And oh my God, I'm going to be spending every waking second watching movies, because there are so many good ones coming out in September and October, and I cannot freaking wait. I know it's only August, but I'm just so excited that I now have this platform, because I started this in May, so I didn't have this last Halloween, and I just can't wait to do spooky things and talk about them with you and go see some good movies, and it's just gonna be lovely. On a separate note, I wanted to recommend a podcast to you guys. I don't know how many of you guys are podcast listeners, but I love a good true crime podcast, and this is one that was recommended to me that I hadn't actually heard about. And the most interesting part about it is that it is currently an ongoing investigation. It is all about this woman named Kristen Smart. She was a college kid from San Luis Obispo, and she was murdered. Or no, not murdered. She went missing about 40 yards from her college dorm room, and still to this day, her body has not been discovered, and it's an ongoing investigation, which is the most fascinating part. Is we're still getting updated episodes about the trial that's happening. So that is all I'll say about that, but it is truly fascinating. I highly recommend go check it out. All right, so today's episode is a first of its kind that I'm titling, this is a working title here, people, Serious Discussions. Get it? Because I'm talking about a whole series here. So I'm going to be talking about the Orphan series, because the prequel just came out last weekend. I'm going to assume that if you are watching this, you've seen the first film. So here's a quick little recap. Isabel Fuhrman plays a presumably 9-year-old Russian orphan named Esther, who is adopted into a grieving couple's family who had just recently lost a child to stillbirth. As the story unravels, we not only realize that Esther is a conniving, murderous little brat with daddy issues, but that she actually also happens to be a 33-year-old woman named Lima Clammer who has a hormonal disorder that stunts her growth. It is also revealed to us in this film that she was previously in an Estonian mental facility, as well as having set her last family's house ablaze, and that's how she wound up in this situation. On an even more off-putting note, Orphan is loosely based off a true story of a woman named Barbara Skrylova who was posing to be a 13-year-old boy in Norway. It is then revealed that she is actually 33 years old, and not only that, but in a previous family that she lived with, she was inflicting violence onto her adopted siblings. So I guess that is the real life Esther. Oddly enough, about a decade after Orphan came out, there was a similar case that arose in Indiana, and it was about this girl or woman or person named Kathleen, who was adopted in 2010 as an 8 to 10-year-old. But then it was later discovered that she was not her age. She was definitely older, but Her exact birthday is to this day still unconfirmed, and there are active lawsuits involved in this case right now. I believe that she has sued her parents, and her parents are currently suing her. So it's a whole thing that you should Google if you have some time, because it's fascinating. But I digress. Orphan First Kill is a brand new prequel to the 2009 Orphan movie directed by Jaume Collet Serra. Directorial duties have now been passed on to Brent Bell, whose previous works include some pretty mediocre horror movies, although his 2006 film Stay Alive was one of my favorites. It's like this cheesy teen ensemble video game horror movie, and it's just iconic to me. When I first heard about this prequel being made, I was certainly unconvinced. My first thought was, okay, so in 2009, she was a 10-year-old playing a 33-year-old, and now she is a 23-year-old playing a 7-year-old. It just logically did not make a whole lot of sense to me, especially since she is now over a decade older than she was and 40 pounds heavier and a foot taller. So in an interview, Furman actually discusses this a little bit, and she says it was definitely a trial and error process. Sometimes she would actually squat in the scenes. Sometimes her co-stars would be wearing these giant Gene Simmons moon boots. And most of the time it was just a forced perspective and some cinematic tricks, as well as having two 10-year-old body doubles. Orphan First Kill takes place 2 years prior to the original film, where we open with Lima escaping from the Sarn Mental Institute in Estonia. Leaving a trail of blood behind her, she travels to America and assumes the identity of a missing child, Esther, claiming to have made her way back home. However, despite her own cunning abilities and dark motives, Lima realizes she may have messed with the wrong family. First impressions, I was so impressed by the way that they actually did make Furman look like her 9-year-old, 7-year-old self. I mean, I was sitting there just staring at her for the first 20 minutes and just looking back and forth at the first Orphan poster and at her on the screen. And it was incredible how similar she looked. I didn't understand it. I do think like her skin texture and her weird contacts that she was wearing, I'm guessing to make her look more childlike. Those kind of distracted me a little bit, but overall, I was very impressed. The prequel starts off pretty heavy with murder and mayhem aplenty as we see Lima escaping from the Sarn Institute, and we're given her whole origin story. Now, I have mentioned this in previous episodes, but I really do love these movies where you already know what the outcome of the film is going to be based off of the previous 2009 film. And so it's so much more about how the story is delivered than what the outcome of it is. I feel like it just lends a lot of space for crazy twists and turns. At first I was like, okay, this is playing along point by point to the first film. Like, when is this going to deviate a little bit, because we're seeing the same relationships being built. We're seeing her father and her mother and her, and even her brother and her's relationships kind of playing out the exact same way. But then the plot twists, and that is when the film completely lost me. Okay, I'm trying to be delicate here because I don't want to give anything away to you guys, but after the major plot twist, it felt like it played out like a CW drama more so than a horror movie. It just felt cheap all of a sudden. Once the twist was revealed and we were in on it, everything kind of started to feel comical to me. Am I alone in this? Leave a comment below if you have watched the movie and let me know what you think about this, because it just very much felt, I don't know, like, let's just say that Orphan First Kill and The Parent Trap have a lot more in common than this movie and the first Orphan. And that is a hot take, and please don't come for me, but if you think about it like that, you can definitely see the parallels, right? I'm sad to say that I'm really disappointed. I think the magic of the first film was in revealing the underbelly of it, you know, the shocking electrocomplex and the adult-like murderous intentions and manipulation of a 10-year-old. But because all of that is old news to us in this one, it felt like Orphan First Kill really tried to find a new gimmick to cling on to. And in this case, it was just really lacking that sheer wrongfulness that the first one had. You know what's even more dismaying to me? In the beginning of the film, I was just thinking, okay, well, now that Isabelle Fuhrman is actually an adult, they can have her do so much more crazy, fucked up shit, pretending to be a 10-year-old. And that just felt like a complete missed opportunity. I don't know. They just didn't utilize that as much as I thought that they would if at all, really. And I do think that the first film was way more fucked up than this one. The whole seduction scene in the first film, like that really made my skin crawl. And in this one, there just wasn't anything comparable to that, in my opinion. I read a review that described the success of this second installment in being that we now pity Esther, and I just didn't feel that at all. Maybe that is why I really couldn't connect with this one, was there wasn't anyone I was rooting for. Oh man. The climax of this film was preposterous. I mean, I just feel like they should have left this one well enough alone. The plot felt like an afterthought. Julia Stiles' acting was unconvincing to me. And sadly, the most applause-worthy part of this film to me was Furman's transformation back into a 10-year-old. I said what I said. You know, it's really surprising to me that the original Orphan has a rotten rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and yet this one, even though it is precariously towing the line here, it is at a 67, which is technically certified fresh. And I just don't get that. Like, am I alone here? Just let me know in the comments, because I really do feel like it's a no-brainer. I would give this one a 4 out of 10, and I think that's being generous. Scratch that, I give it a 3 out of 10. I just didn't like it. Orphan First Kill is now streaming on Paramount Plus, and if you have not seen the first one, well, sorry for spoiling it for you. But if you need a refresher, the 2009 original Orphan is also streaming on Paramount Plus. That's it for now, folks. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet because I do think that you guys probably prefer my short form videos over my longer ones. Maybe under 10 minutes is kind of where my sweet spot is, but you guys let me know. I also would love to know what you thought about this film, so go ahead and leave a comment down below. And just remember, if you are reviewing anything, remember to leave a spoiler alert. I think that you guys are pretty good at doing that. But also, just remember to be kind with your delivery. In no way am I saying that you need to agree with me at all. Movies are subjective, and we all have our opinions, and that's okay. And I am in no way saying that I could do a better job at this, because I most certainly could not. Now, if you've stuck around this long, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked it and you want to subscribe to it, and we'll see you next week.